Listen to them, the children of the night. Oh, what music they make. Lying in the darkness are things not meant to be understood. The mysteries of life and what lie beyond it. Lost in the shadows, all we seek, all we long for, is the salvation of the light. No man knows till he has all but suffered from the night, just how sweet, dear to his heart, the morning light can be. So until then, beware and take care, for the freaks come out at night.
Nosferatu, Succubi, Strigoi, Guajin, Homo sanguinis, vampires. Whatever you call them, they've been haunting the imaginations of humanity for centuries. They are a shadow that has been stalking us for as long as we can remember. I've grown quite fond of the mythos and legends of these vampires over the last few years. But why is that? What makes these bloodsuckers so endearing? And tonight on the Villain Vibes, I would like to explore 3 case studies and what they add to the mythos of vampirism as we look to see what is the appeal of monsters.
What a perfect night. The kind of night that makes me want to have a bite to drink.
Vlad Dracula Tepish, the son of the dragon, the prince of Wallachia, a man forged in the crucibles of Ottoman captivity, whom upon his rise to power took the fight to the man who brought down Constantinople, Mehmet the Conqueror, seeing his violence as divine justice. Growing up as a prisoner of the Ottoman Turks, young Vlad believed his god had forsaken him, as he was forced to endure abuses no child should have to go through. During his reign, his brutality against the Islamic Turks was seen as a grotesque prayer, a crusade in the name of his god, all to achieve some form of acknowledgement from his god who had abandoned him. Villages razed to the ground, 2,000 left to hang on spikes as a warning to anyone who would oppose the impaler. However, the weight of all of his sins would come to bear. After all the blood he had stained the lands with, he did not receive the acknowledgement he wanted from his god. His execution was simply the culmination in his mind that his god had abandoned him, and in an act of defiance, he'd forsaken his god. Consuming the blood that he had spilled, he sold his soul for his own survival, and thus, Count Dracula was born anew, made a monster in his god's name, a soul too defiled to rest in peace, now roaming battlefield after battlefield, feeding his endless bloodthirst, until finally being brought to heel by Abraham van Helsing. And how ironic, a defiled monster now serving man. His immortality bred an almost indifference to the world, and only led to a thirst for his own death. Once a man abandoned by his lord, made a monster in his name. As Vlad, all he became was a coward, running from the consequences of his own actions, and disgraced the very god he swore his soul to. As Dracula, he was simply a monster lashing out against the world that had corrupted his soul and the god that had forsaken him. And now, the newly christened Alucard made a vow to himself that he'd never let another monster like himself exist in this world, and that if he were to fall, it would be at the hands of a righteous man, a man he once thought he was, or at the very least, that he thought he could have been. Alucard's story is the origin myth of vampirism, not as a disease or a simple monster to be slain, but as a curse wrought upon humanity. It was the very corruption of Vlad's soul that brought about Dracula in the first place, and after centuries of violence by Dracula, all of it slowly eroded his soul, leaving nothing behind but the revenant that is Alucard, wanting nothing more than his own death, for this curse to finally end.
For every suffering, a wisdom is gained.
In her old life, Drolta served Sekhmet, the Egyptian goddess of war and healing, one who punished the wicked but protected the innocent. As the high priestess of her courts, Drolta saw countless people suffer and longed to have the strength and power to heal those who were suffering. A feeling that was only amplified when she witnessed her temple getting sacked by vampires. Drolta looked upon the ruins of the goddess's temple, broke down. She could not protect her lady's temple or those who sought sanctuary in it, and in her shame and desperation, she viewed the vampire's arrival as a divine instruction, as a signal of purpose. She chose to become a vampire, not for her own preservation, but to fulfill what she saw as Sekhmet's divine mission: revive her lord's power and purge the world of those who defy her name. Sekhmet's temples, once places of sanctuary, now became houses of slaughter. Her cult of priestesses now filled with predators. Drolta, who once guarded Sekhmet's remains, now fervently feeding them to those who she believed would be worthy vessels to revive her lady. In Drolta's mind, she was simply following Sekhmet's will, but in reality, she wasn't serving her goddess. She was only serving herself. After a lifetime of being weak and seeing countless sufferings, now she has the power to strike back against the world. And she's drunk with power as the high priestess of her lady's cult, using Elizabeth Bathory as a vessel for her lady's will. But her betrayal of Elizabeth only confirmed what we all knew from the start, that she was the one in control the entire time. It was Drolta who wanted to carry Sekhmet's will, and as such, carry on that power. She wanted to become Sekhmet. She wanted to be the goddess of war. Drolta's story is one of religious corruption, a zealot convinced that her goddess demanded blood, in a world controlled by fear and power. But in reality, it was an excuse to justify her own weakness and her vampiric bloodlust. She was a person who felt weak, and now she saw power. She saw an opportunity, and she took it. And in her corruption, she could not fathom what she was doing is wrong. In her own mind, justifying all her disgusting actions, all of her violence, all of her sacrilege, in the name of her god. And blinded by her own zealotry, Drolta fell to her knees weeping before her goddess, because she did not fathom that her actions were blasphemous to the name of Sekhmet.
Oh, now you must have me confused. I'm sad as all, but I don't need no saving.
Yes. Yes, you do. You all do.
Remmick presented himself as a cultural savior, a Celtic vampire attempting to build a sanctuary for those who were lost and trying to keep their cultural identities alive, justifying his bloodlust and atrocities as saving people from a world that would do much worse. Remmick was a victim of English colonization in his native Ireland. He had witnessed his cultural practices being demonized and destroyed. Now, he's desperate to keep his culture alive, while longing the people that he had lost, desperately holding on to that connection. He sees the struggle of the African American community in the Jim Crow era South, and he relates to them. The blues and soul music from Preacher Boy Sammy connected him to his ancestors, just as the jigs and Irish folk songs of the Irish Feely connected Remmick to his ancestors. Remmick insisted that his clan, his family, is based in fellowship and love, that together they can keep their cultural practices alive from a world that just wants to take everything away from marginalized people. And while he is genuine and believes that with his whole soul, he is still delusional, because the reality of the situation is that his group of vampires is just a cult of death. The people who join his covenant became one with him. They share his memories and feel his feelings, but their souls are forever trapped in this plane of existence. Their spirits cannot pass on and join their ancestors or loved ones, and no one asks to join willingly. It's always forced upon them. Even if he is not mentally aware of it, he is still actively colonizing these people and separating them from their cultures forever. No matter how sympathetic Remmick's story is and how good of intentions he believes he has, a sympathetic monster is still a monster. This is a monster born from trauma and is unaware that he's causing these same traumas on other people. I believe the allure of vampires is that their stories often reflect the darkness of human nature. When becoming a vampire, it requires giving into your worst self and renouncing your own humanity, whether it be feelings of anger, desperation, survival, grief, purpose, or connection. The reason these examples have given into the lore of vampirism is inherently tied to their humanity, and it was corrupting of said humanity that made them into these monsters that we see now. They are shadows of humanity, and they tell us a lot about ourselves and our history. What is good, folks, and welcome back. I hope y'all enjoyed the video today, and if y'all did, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button down below to check out more of my stuff and keep in touch, and be sure to hit me up down in the comments below and let me know, what are the allure of vampires to you? What's the appeal of vampires? What are some of your favorite vampires in fiction? I would like to hear about it, and who knows, I might talk about them later. But for now, I must bid you all adieu, so goodbye. Mwah. Good night. Happy Hallows Eve, people. Sage out.